start any personal appeal. Okay. Then what we're going to move to, Lee and Wes, I'm going to move the family here, Kosas, up because of the letter, just in the interest of time, since I'm hanging around listening to the rest of this. Why don't you come on up here and grab a seat.
Here, I'll get another one. Actually, why don't all you three just sit right here?
No, I can Jeff, put this one over here.
All right. I'll get one.
Something in there.
We've met.
Yeah, that water.
Have you met Jeff Clapper, our Public Works
I
Director?
spoke to you, I think, on the phone.
Jeff
Clapper.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Leo. Nice to meet you.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Leo, nice to meet you.
This committee is a committee of Borough Council, so we can make recommendations, but we have a pretty strong committee structure in the council. We're trying to collaborate in the committee, and then we make recommendations and go back to council and talk with them. Brent Lavenberg, maybe we should give Brent a call.
I'm sure he's on his way.
He's also on the Public Works Committee, which is what this actually came out of first. But General Administration meets twice a month. So sometimes these things are good to come to this committee just because we meet more often and we can talk about it and so on. We invited Jeff to come along because he certainly is more knowledgeable about this than I am. And of course, Craig Neely isn't here anymore as borough manager, and so he was involved, so we're doing it without him. So we got the letter, so I'm presuming that's why you're here. And so what's on your mind here this morning? What would you like to talk about? Jeff, what do you think? It came out of Public Works.
Well, first of all, let me say, I wasn't sure what committee to put this to, but a couple of reasons why I felt like this committee should talk about this is because it was a little more timely, especially with the end of the year with the meeting structures possibly changing. And also, it was recommended out of Public Works, but this is now going to become more of an administrative issue for the borough. But what happened here, as I explained to you on the telephone, was we had been doing some trail work, and we had recently done some land swapping. And when we did the survey to determine the boundaries of the area that we got as part of this trail, when we put that walkway in, the property corner ended up in the middle of the roadway. That, in my mind, just raised a flag that there was something going on there that I was not aware of. And specifically, that there obviously was no roadway for Weeder's Lane. There is a section of Weeder's Lane that is platted and has been accepted by the borough down to the mailboxes there where it's got curb and so forth. So I brought that issue to Public Works. And this all comes out of that. Then there was some discussions about whether or not the borough should be involved in this roadway, and those discussions happened with Public Works, and ultimately, which as far as I'm aware, those discussions had been taking place for several meetings, and then that resulted in direction by council, I think, to have either the borough manager or the solicitor write you all a letter. And I think in that letter there was given some kind of a period of time to at least give you some kind of notice. I think part of the thing that struck me about the whole thing is you basically have two property owners that that roadway traverses those, and that line theoretically is down the middle of it. So you have wildlands on the left and you have Raven Mill on the right. And there is no clear chain of title for any sort of access easement for you all from the end of that platted roadway back to the back. In other words, you all should have, as long as you should have not only with your title for your property, which would describe your physical shape of your property, there should be some supplementary statements along with that that say something like, together with an access easement 20 feet wide, 30 feet wide, 40 feet wide, however wide it's agreed to be, described as follows, and it should describe that strip of land that gives you the right to traverse and cross those properties, and all of those things have never happened for whatever reason.
When did it fall off the map? That's what I'm curious about, because I have maps too.
Well-
39, where it says it's the Borough of Emmaus Real Estate Registry.
Well, there is, if you, here, I have a little drawing here I made, and I have actually only 2 copies left, but you all probably can share. That dark line is actually the corporate municipal boundary line, where you're pointing now, your finger is in Salisbury Township,
Right.
where the homes are.
Right.
Everything above that line is in the borough of Emmaus.
Right.
So, what ends up, I believe, happening, or one of the considerations for the borough is that the majority of that roadway is within the borough, all to provide access to residents who live outside the borough. And who, as far as I understand, don't necessarily contribute through tax funds, that sort of thing. So this all came about because of the surveying that was done by the trail. I don't think anyone knew that it's one of those old things that went on for a long period of time, and no one was really aware of it until we did the trail.
And I think to reinforce what Jeff said, this was a direction by council and not by Jeff or anybody. Council talked about this in executive session at least 2 or 3 times, I think, and decided that this is the way we wanted to go in regards to the taxpayer and the taxpayers providing maintenance and so on going down into property that wasn't the borough of Emmaus. So it was full council that gave actually the borough mayor the directive to send the letter, the way this came out. So it does seem really odd though, if I'm sitting in your seat, I'm thinking, well, why now? What happened? I think Jeff was right, we don't even go to the survey and so on. It was done.
The light went on when we did the survey. It was really that
That's
simple.
all it was. So you're sort of in the middle here, you've had the advantage of using that as access, and now all of a sudden, we're saying, we're not going to do that anymore. So that puts you in that position too, so certainly understand. I drove down through there this morning, I just haven't been down there in years. And, so Jeff, you're saying that when you say the mailbox is right by where the grid, where the walkway comes through, that's where this line is?
No, that's
That's
where
further
the
back.
end
Oh,
of
up
the
here.
wide area is.
Oh, it's up here when it's broken.
Yeah,
When you go down to where the other mailboxes are for their homes,
Those mailboxes down.
that's kind of about where the boundary line is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just an approximate.
And it's all undeveloped road here, this really rutted road.
Correct.
Are you saying part of that is Emmaus though?
Well, that heavy line is everywhere where you have your pencil right now is within the borough.
Right,
Would you
so
see that
it's
dashed
pretty much
line?
down to your driveway
The
then?
mailboxes.
Yeah.
Well, Julie owns property in Emmaus, so do I.
Yeah.
And I know a little bit there a lot.
That's a mess.
Well, there's some of the properties, the private properties that slightly overlap the municipal boundary lines, but they pay their taxes to, Salisbury Township.
The dwelling lies in Salisbury Township,
Right.
and it's paying taxes to it.
But that
Our
tends-
property has about 150 feet in
Right.
to our driveway
Right.
of Emmaus as does
Hmm.
Bobby's.
But it doesn't really matter where your dwelling is.
I understand.
As far as I understand, I guess at some point in time when the property is first developed, if it sits in a situation like this, which we have several around town like that, I've been told you make the decision at the time you develop which municipality you want to pay your taxes to, whoever was the original. In a situation like this, you would have made the decision who somebody would have at some point in time. And we have this condition in several places. One I can think of is right out near Shimerville Road and 16th Street, where the municipal boundaries kind of go right through the lot. And so
Did you
it's,
stop filing there as well? Is that another place you're going to stop doing maintenance?
well, that is a platted roadway. That was, that is, I mean, I have to show you on the map. It's not a situation like this. And yes, we do stop at the municipal boundary on Shimerville Road.
Have you ever had this come up before, and what have other residents done as recourse to help get the road maintained?
I don't know if
This has not ever come up.
Now, I don't know, I've only been on 6 years, I've never seen it
The
before.
only other issue that's been remotely close to this has been, and I'll give you one example, over in what we call the Stryer section, which is this area here,
Right by.
near you. There's an alley through there that is
East Main
labeled
Street.
as East Main, and it's undeveloped, and it never was built by the borough, never was maintained. We don't do anything, as far as I understand legally. After 21 years, we've lost all rights or interest to that strip. There's a couple places like that in the borough that exist, but this is not, something like this has never really come up as far as I'm aware.
Have you talked to Salisbury Township at all about, their responsibility and?
I did, I just went up to Salisbury to, get a feel of who owns the
Sure.
lane, if they had any deeds or records on it. And, the gentleman up there was very nice, and, I know what you're all saying and everything like that, but, and they said they had the same situation. Well, anyway, he couldn't find anything, but he says we had the same situation up here, and it's been grandfathered in. It was handshakes way back when they started talking before. He says you just do it. Wherever it is, it says it takes maybe 5 minutes, and sometimes it's easier for trucks to get around and this and that. So, I mean, that's all he said.
Yeah.
But no, I did go up, and like I says, he was very nice, and I spent over half an hour with him.
Was it John that you spoke to?
A guy named Sal.
John Andres, is the public
He's
works director.
probably about in his mid-40s.
Could that maybe be the manager?
No, because that's who I went to see, and then at the reception desk, the girl says, in reference to what, and I kind of told her about a rival.
I see this as you all have two issues here. This issue of just why the borough's doing this, but beyond that, you have a title issue that, depending on who owns that property, you could end up with some sort of a weird person that might just say, quit driving across my property. You don't really have any connectivity for access, and I think that's important too for you, that would require something other than the borough to be involved in. And I think, talking about plowing, I know what was discussed.
Because the whole lane falls in Emmaus.
What's that?
Salisbury would plow that because the whole lane falls in Emmaus.
Yeah.
It's,
The entire lane.
yeah.
It's really, and I'll say, I know at least what was discussed in Public Works, this is beyond plowing. This is who patches the potholes,
Sure.
who cuts the brush back, and, you have a couple drainage issues down there that freeze up, so this is, plowing is one component of it, but there's certainly more issues than that. But I just want to make sure you guys knew, just my personal advice would be, this, as I told you on the phone, usually when you get title insurance for a property, they research the deeds, and they, in a situation like this, should have flagged or formed some sort of connectivity or lack of on this access, and that would be important for you all, I think.
No, we understand that.
Totally separate from this
Sure.
issue we're talking
No,
about.
that's very, I'm glad you brought it up, it's good to know that. But in regards to, the lane itself, of course, you said plowing is one aspect, but there's, many concerns we have if there's an emergency, if there's, if it's not being maintained, we have to figure something out by next winter. And, do we, would the right course of action be to contact the Conservancy, contact Raven Mill, and say, hey, technically you own each own half of that lane and the access to it? Because we have to figure something out. Because if someone's sick back where we are and has to get out, in the winter, it's hard to get back there to begin with.
Yeah.
And
I guess what I would say there is, I don't know if the Conservancy or Raven would even be the one, obviously it's their property that the road is sitting in.
correct.
But for them, to have any sort of interest in keeping the road open, I would say they're not gonna be a player in this.
Then who would be?
It would either be you or it would be the borough. or
But
the
we're
Salisbury
Salisbury
Township.
Township, I would think.
Yes. I mean, you are a resident of Salisbury Township. You pay your taxes to Salisbury
This
Township.
part does.
And so I would think that your most logical
Okay, that's right.
approach would be, I'm just thinking, if you were Raven Mill, or if you were in the Conservancy, what benefit would it be for you to spend money to keep that roadway open? I'm sure they would just as soon see it obliterated.
It wouldn't be anything
So,
of any interest to them.
I would think that,
But you legally can't block access to someone's home either.
well,
There-
that's assumed that's a defined, and now you've got the water muddied because there's been some time where this has been done this way. So this is a legal issue at this point. So, that's why I'm saying, clear title to the access is really something you need to, like, at this point in time, clear up.
See, this is running
Because
these maps.
the only thing
This is the
that
part of the lands.
in your favor on this is that you've been using this roadway
The whole
for
trail
so many
around
years.
there. This was the
It
kind of
would be
like.
very hard for
So this is where
them
it
to
goes.
across.
The end of Weaver's Lane is where.
But technically, there is no strip there that gives you the right to cross
And
it.
that's why Jeff was thinking about the corner.
And so there are a lot of like weird little twists here that kind of muddy the water, I guess is the way I see it.
Yeah, so this is.
I would say,
Were you turned around this morning? That's our driveway.
Right, yeah, and so the 500.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
no, that's
I'm
fine.
still trying to visualize where this is.
I can take you out there and show you.
I think I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
And.
It's just a really weird, it's just kind of a really weird thing
Okay, thank you.
that,
Yeah, it's just pretty.
I just happened to notice when we did the surveying work, and it just, discussions progressed from there. It was, and like I said, I
Your
think,
house is
at least from what I gleaned out of the meetings, there were, you know, budgetary concerns, cost, just liability, just lots of things were discussed, appropriateness,
And this is.
and
this would
the
be
final
the
decision
buffer.
made by council, which I wasn't in the meeting, I don't know what they discussed.
I can understand the situation being that our dwelling
See, that
supply
looks
in
different.
Salisbury Township, we're paying taxes to
Yeah.
Salisbury. I understand that it's not
See, this is what.
funding
Is
or
confusing.
eating towards East Penn School District,
Yeah.
or those taxes.
Well, the school district,
I know, I'm
Not has anything to do
taxes
with what
to
we're
the
talking
borough
about.
taxes.
The borough.
Correct, I'm sorry, I'm thinking
No, okay.
Salisbury versus,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ryan's right here.
I mean, as taxes, I understand.
That's
And you have to allot your
This is just so-
services
Yeah.
That's what's-
where you can to provide for
One
borough
thing,
taxpayers, I
absolutely,
understand
yeah.
that. But then, like, what you were mentioning to me,
Yeah, I don't know how
either,
Jeff was.
it wouldn't be a benefit to
as
Raven nor the
he thinks that
Conservancy
it's-
correct.
to do
If they.
anything there.
Correct.
But at that point,
When it's
then,
built,
you know, what
that's
do we,
how it's determined who
we're
you
stuck.
pay your
It
taxes.
becomes, like you
I
said,
don't know
it's a
that.
legal
I-
issue.
No, I think.
I've never done.
One of the other things that's really weird, and the typical chain of events that would happen, is, let's say, for example, Raven Mill was to develop that property, okay? He would come to the borough with some development plans through an engineer, and whatever issues had to be met, he would meet them. But that roadway, and here's kind of one of the things that kind of mixed in this whole mess, is that trail is simply that, it's a trail. It wasn't built to any standard. It obviously causes more concern because it wasn't built properly. It requires, it heaves, and it, you know, what normally happens when somebody has property, and typically what happens in all of these roadways that you see in any municipality is, it was farmland at some point.
Sure.
It gets developed, a developer who develops that pays for the construction of the roadway, he builds it to a standard, and then he passes it over to the borough in the way of an ordinance where they actually ordain the roadway, physically saying, we accept the roadway for maintenance because it's built to a standard, and this is just another issue that's kind of wrapped in there. The roadway was never built to any standard, it's just dirt with, you know, some asphalt on it and oil and chip or whatever else was put on it over the years. So that whole thing kind of makes it even weird too. I mean, this is definitely kind of uncharted water, I would say.
What if we do this? I think you should explore a little bit more with Salisbury Township. How about, Jeff, you and I go out next week and just walk down, I'll get a better sense of where it is. Do you have a pretty good sense of where the lines are and everything?
Yeah,
I think
I
you wanna
do.
join
I
Jeff
do,
and
but
I.
I'll go out again.
Okay, why don't we get together and see if any other council members,
Wanna go?
we'll pick a date and a time and we'll just walk down through.
Let me just tell you, it's really, if you just remember these 2 points, it's very easy. Weeder's Lane has curb on it. At the end of the curb, begins this trail we're speaking of.
Right.
Weeders Lane has been accepted to the end of that curve. From the end of that curve, all the way down a quarter mile or so
It's
to where the
900 feet.
mailboxes are, is this, that's the section of the roadway that is in the borough. Those mailboxes that are at the end there, which is kind of a little turnaround, is kind of about where the borough line is.
The mailboxes are at the end of the paved section of Weeders Lane.
Yeah.
The borough of Emmaus continues on for 900, almost 1,000 feet down towards our properties.
No. I'm talking about, are there not mailboxes down at the very end where you got, where, isn't there another set of mailboxes down there?
No.
Okay, then I'm
Yeah, see, that's why you're confused.
I'm
Yeah.
mistaken.
I'm thinking of the ones.
I'm
by the
not saying those
Yeah, me
mailboxes,
too.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about that 900 feet.
Where their driveway
Yes,
is.
where our
Clear down
driveways
there
are.
where the turnaround is, I guess, is where that line is about. So I guess I
Their
confused
driveway.
that.
Right,
Where it goes
in our driveway,
Okay,
there's a
now
large-
I've got
there's
you.
a-
You're confusing me with the other mailboxes.
Okay.
If
All
you
right.
walk down the
The
lane.
virtual mailboxes
Yeah.
are down
Right.
there,
Yeah.
apparently.
If you walk down the lane and see the two concrete hip walls at the 500s
Yes,
in our driveway,
right.
about 100 feet ahead of you is a large 4-foot stone. That's right where Emmaus and Salisbury split through on an angle, and part of it as it comes through comes into Bobby's property.
Okay,
Right.
okay, now I got you.
That's where it comes through.
Because I
Sorry
wanted to
about
build
It's okay.
a barn, and it would have spanned both properties, so I had to talk to Farnsworth and someone else. One was in this, and I think Farnsworth wasn't there.
Yeah, these
Yes.
aren't
This is zoning
covered.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. And I did a gentleman in Salisbury, and they're like, you're gonna have to pay taxes to both of us now.
Yeah, that helps make a decision.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
scrapped the barn.
Yeah.
I still want a barn, maybe.
Well, let's do that then. Let's get together again. Give us a little bit of time for us to get some of the council members down there. I don't know if the others have walked down through there or not. If they're,
I don't know.
you know,
I may go down again. I was down there.
we have a new councilman coming on next week. The others, Brent, I'm pretty sure knows where it is. Nate, I'm not sure if Nate knows. So we'll probably go later in the afternoon, perhaps, if Nate can join us, just to walk down through, so he has an idea of what it looks like too. So let us get that part together. We'll get back together. We need to talk about when our next meeting is. I don't know if it's been advertised or not, but that's one of the reasons we need Brent to see his schedule. So I'm going to have to give him a call about giving us a schedule. We meet twice a month, but it depends on Brent's schedule when we work. So I'm not sure when the next meeting is. But I appreciate you coming in today to talk about it and
Thank
see
you
where we
for-
go. And like Jeff says, this is uncharted waters.
Right,
so-
I know, and thank you for
we're
talking
trying
to me. It was
Yeah.
very informative.
Yeah, I just, this is a taxpayer's issue because we're in Salisbury and
Correct.
the mass is paying for it. Now, I may be blowing smoke here, and I apologize for it. But let's say we had 3 snowfalls a year, and you always come do Weeders Lane last, which I don't have a problem with. You do the top part, and then just turn around, and you're always the last one. But it takes 5 minutes to do the lane, 2 minutes down, a minute to turn around, and another 2 minutes to come back. So let's say we had 3 snowfalls a year. So that's 15 minutes of your actual work there. Let's say your men get $50 an hour the total package, and for a truck, plow, the insurance and everything, let's throw another, so let's say it's $100 an hour. You're talking $24 or $25 that it costs you to plow 3 times. If you have 4,000 residents that pay taxes, and I don't even know that, so I'm just blowing smoke. Each of them gives a penny out of their taxes to us. That's $40. That almost covers 2 years of plowing. I think if you would ask every resident here, I mean, this is going to open up a big can of worms, and I don't know. I think for a penny from each taxpayer, I would do it. If somebody knocked on my door and said that, yes, I'll give you $1. I don't.
Well,
I'm probably wrong,
Looking at
since
me
I'm
like
probably-
I have any.
Since I'm probably
effort
blowing
in this
smoke here,
decision,
but.
And I've only been the messenger here.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I think.
Bob, I like your analogy. I like your
think people
comparison.
think it's thousands of dollars that you're spending. And I just want to add one other thing. Insofar as doing potholes, and this you probably do know, the only time that potholes are ever filled is when you guys have extra, and you just dump it down.
Not true.
Well, the other year you did.
We don't,
But in the last 5 years, I've been doing the trucks because my wife feels I've been incarcerated. So, no,
What I'm saying, only from an operational standpoint, and strictly as just as an FYI on what happens there, yes, it is a 15-minute down and 15-minute back, but there's plenty more cost involved in that because it parlays into making sure that the roadway is accessible so that we can get down there, and oftentimes that does require other work, not at that particular time of your plowing. And all of this, I want you all to know that I simply brought this point forward as a matter of discussion because of what I learned when we did the survey. I am only offering the information that I am aware of and have no part in the decision of what happens. I want you to know that.
We're not blaming you.
They're not blaming us, we're the ones who.
But there is more than just 2 minutes down, turn around and come back. You have.
well, I'm sure.
There is, and that isn't even really, I don't think, the total issue. I think at some point in time, there's going to have to be some significant expense on that roadway just to keep it intact, to be able to drive on it. And therein lies the white elephant that lays there for the borough.
Yeah.
And I think, quite frankly, you know, the last couple of years, you know, costs have been going through the roof, so these budgetary issues of what we really should be doing with taxpayers' money has become very much more of a discussion.
I think what, for me as a councilman, a big issue is the liability issue. So if somebody whacks the hip wall over there, or something happens, and then we're in Salisbury Township and something happens, I'm going to be pretty unhappy about that as a councilman, that our money's expended and it's not going to borough. So I think for me, that's where this part, and the repair, now I drove down it today, I can see why you fix it once in a while, you do your own thing there. There's going to be significant expense to try and maintain that over the years. The potholes that are there now, it's all the water built up on one side, it drains down into there, that's going to be a mess down there. And it shouldn't be like that, and to make it right, it's going to be very expensive down the road. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I just see it as a standard. I mean, the roads that we plow, maintain, all that have a standard. This was never brought up to that standard because it was never essentially dedicated, I think is, what did you say, platted?
This is just a really weird,
Yeah.
weird thing.
Yeah.
So we have some time, that's why we made the June
Yeah.
1 on it, to give us all some time to talk about it, and maybe there is some other resolution that we just haven't thought of. So I think we just need a little time to talk about it. You can kind of do something on your end with Salisbury. I can see why they wouldn't want to drive across and go up there, and I can understand that. We wouldn't want to do that if we had
We
an
have
eye
a
situation.
very
Well,
similar
they
situation.
did it to the old man's property,
Yeah, that's what
all the way
I
back
want
to our house.
There's nothing
Well,
south
everything,
Oh, in
everything,
that part of it, yeah.
It's strictly the
That's
standard.
not
that whole lane's
That's what I'm saying,
man's.
it's the standard. It's not a,
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, they're not gonna come, I mean, I'll go up and talk to them, but they're not gonna plow on this road.
I've got to walk this to get a better sense.
Okay.
Leanne, anything from you? Leanne's a borough council president, so.
We'll go out and see what we
Yeah.
can come up with, and we'll come to a resolution one way or the
Yeah.
other, and we'll bring it.
And I really thank you for coming in today and talking to us about it.
Okay.
Have a
Thanks
discussion,
for-
and kind of talk about where we are, where you are, and lay it out a little bit, and we'll just go from there. Talk about it and see what we have. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to come in.
take
Appreciate it.
care.
It's nice meeting you. You saw me turn around there this morning. I gotta take a look at that.
Nice meeting you. If you have any questions, please call me.
We'll do it.
Jeff, I'd shake your hand, but I can't reach it.
Okay, thank you.
Virtual.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you.
Okay, thanks for coming in here this morning.
Yes, thank you.
Call Brent and see if he,
Savings account.
because he gives us all the dates that.
I know, but
Um,
Yeah.
the schedule changes.
Jeff, I don't know if there's anything else we need to do.
Just, you'll take care of the things on that day today?
And I guess what I'll do is, typically that goes to a committee for, well, I guess it doesn't have to. How do you want to handle the disposition
Good
of
call,
those
it's
bids?
West Barrett.
You want me just to look at them and make a recommendation? Or do you want to discuss them at a committee meeting? It's not something we have to rush into. I don't know when the.
Okay, perfect.
Well, we've ever discussed any of the recommendations for bids?
We haven't, but we've also had, we're kind of without a borough manager too. so.
Yeah. All right.
I think it's going to be very clear. I think with as many bidders as we have, I think my expectation is to see a pretty big difference in the bids. It's going to be very clear on which way we should go.
Yeah.
Well, get a feel for it first. When you open up, give me a call this afternoon, and then we'll talk about it. We'll probably come back to this committee before we make the recommendation. We know what we found.
You know, just a note on what, you know, this is really a weird thing.
It is.
And I can possibly have a discussion with John Andres, he's a public works director for Southbury. In my mind, kind of useful, in my mind, this is really more just the appropriateness of it all. I don't know what the answer is, and I'll do whatever it doesn't.
Well, I think that's a good point. Why don't you call John and see what he has to say, and we'll come back together and talk about it. We'll have to make a decision today. So.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this question. So if let's say this is virgin land, it's totally undeveloped, and these 3 homeowners come and say, we want to develop this today. They would be responsible for paying for the cost to create the road.
Correct.
Right.
I'm saying, you know, there's been some discussion on Ravens Park over to the property exchange about him developing, and there's a pretty good area right now, with nothing else there, they are the only benefactor.
Right, yeah, if they got their title cleared and had an easement established, easement on the books established, when they created that easement, would they be responsible for
well, see, that's
creating the roadway?
I'll give you a good example. Right now, next to the magistrate's office. If you're standing there looking at the magistrate's office, there's what appears to be an alley between the apartments and the magistrate. We do nothing with that.
Yeah.
It's paved, they plow it, they maintain it, it's not a borough alley.
Yeah.
There are several places like that.
Right.
So whether they do that or not, the only difference in this whole thing is that the borough has displayed for a number of years they've been taken care of. That's the only difference. And I only pointed this out because I just found it out. So I really have no opinion either way about what we can do, and it's just a really awkward thing.
Okay, let's do what we're going to do, and that'll be it. Together. We have our meeting scheduled. I'll invite them to come back again.
Okay.
Thank you. If I'll put down that you're going to call John.
I'll call John and talk to him about it. I think he's going to have probably the same sort of questions and discussions. I mean, this goes beyond plowing. This is maintenance.
Is there anywhere else where we have, like, let's say probably it happens more often with Upper Milford, where we plow one of their parts, they plow one of our parts, because you don't have to go into the borough or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like over Little Lehigh Acres doesn't have anything. They always come over, and I guess that's Big Hill right off of Cedar Crest.
Paris.
Paris, yeah.
That's in the borough.
Yeah.
It's just the way the municipal boundaries fall, no.
So they travel over our land
They
from
travel
time to
over
time.
our roads, and they'll pick their plow up to get to, but it's actually more of a pattern for them. For example, you go out Frank Drive,
Right.
Chris and Leah Drive,
Right. Yeah. ours.
we own back 2 houses, and then it becomes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know
If you
exactly
go out
what you're
Keystone Avenue to Pine Street,
Yep.
we own the first the roadway back 2 houses back, then it becomes Southbury Township.
Yeah.
So there are, you know, that situation exists all over, but to drive like this to get to a different property, this is kind of a lone instance.
What about Golf Circle? We have.
That's outside the borough. There's
The
one,
other piece of Emmaus.
well, and there's one home, and if you look at the boundary line, and that's what I was saying, I didn't make a comment about what you said about what you talked to Jim about having to pay taxes to the borough now. I don't know for sure, but I have always been on the understanding, if the borough's boundary passes through here and your property straddles two municipalities, you make a choice of which municipality you're paying taxes to, and if you build a second structure on this property and it's still one piece, it still goes to the same municipality it's going to. And what happened at Gulf Circle is that property line crosses her lot, and she evidently, or whoever owned that property at the time, pays the borough the taxes, and so that's why that one lot is, we had that exact same situation at the corner of 16th and Tramerville Road. We had, the guy on the corner, the line kind of comes through there. There's several places like that, but a situation like this is
It's a little different, yeah.
Yeah,
with the road
yeah.
going through there.
So,
Okay.
it's
So,
really weird.
actually, Jeff, Gulf Circle actually brings up a really good example of where Upper Milford comes into, because part of it's Lower
Yeah.
Country Township.
Yeah.
They come into Emmaus,
Yeah.
they complete this part of the circle.
Yeah, they do everything outside the line. But see, here's Cherokee, here's another example. Right at that intersection, Cherokee is within the borough, but Second Street outside all of that's outside, so are they driving on rural streets to get to their stuff? Yes, they are. But that's totally different. They're not plowing this piece for those
Yes,
folks.
right.
It's kind of a reversal. But yes, there are numerous places like that where you have that. You know, like I said, out here, Leah and Chris,
Yeah.
you know, that boundary falls a couple houses in, so we plow in that far. And quite frankly, it just depends who gets there first. Upper Milford might plow part of that too.
Right.
Because it's easier for them to just, you know, do that.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, plowing, I know it involves more than plowing, it's just that's.
Yeah,
But that's
easy one to
the
visualize.
big,
Yeah.
that's the big issue is,
Yeah.
it's not the big issue, that seems to be the topic is plowing, but again, I think the discussion should be based on who's maintaining
Yeah.
the
Oh,
road,
yeah,
and that only
absolutely.
becomes
No,
one
that's-
component of it.
That's the bigger
So,
expense.
Thank you, Jeff.
So Brent won't be joining us, he's working overtime.
I knew that happened to him
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, see, and probably can't make a meeting schedule until we know what his schedule is for 012.
Yeah.
And it can't be advertised yet, so we gotta,
No, the only thing that's been advertised are our council meetings. Those were advertised in the beginning of December, which I didn't know. So we
Well,
have
I'll-
two for every month, instead of giving staff 1 month where we only have one meeting. They've all been advertised, so.
Who did the advertising?
The borough manager had the secretary do the advertising, and I didn't know who was doing it,
okay.
so it's done.
All right, well, then I'll email Brent and see if he can get us a schedule, so I know Kathy's looking to get that.
Because you got all the others, right, sent yours, of what committees people wanted,
Yeah,
with,
yeah,
with
I have that.
approximations of when they want to do them.
I don't have Jeff's
Yeah,
meeting
no,
dates
that's
when
fine,
he
that's
wants to, he's gonna be assigned health and sanitation.
Looking on the agenda here, just double check me here, this is what we did under reappointment. Kathy said she has a Nancy Reimer one out of the.
That's ready to go.
I don't know the date on that, but these are the ones that I have for recommendation next Tuesday night.
Okay.
I think we're good on those.
Because we already took care of,
We did these at the last meeting,
Mhm.
so these should be, I don't know any new ones. Next one, the shade tree draft. If you look at this, Wes. No, we
you know
can
what,
just
I don't think I
carry it.
got that, actually.
I didn't get one.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I mean, it wasn't, I read my whole packet, I didn't get anything. This one, had
Okay.
you get?
I think my packet,
You must be the only one that got it.
December 16th.
Can I just briefly see it, just to see if?
Yeah, well,
I overlooked
I'll
that?
make sure, I'll have Kathy send a copy to you. Maybe Brent, so I'll just ask her to take care of that.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have this.
Shade tree, we'll wait till next time. Giving that to you. with it. And I would think we need an executive session to talk about the borough manager,
Yes.
where we are with that.
Yes.
So John, I'm going to have to ask you to shut that off and leave for a couple of minutes while we talk about the status of the borough manager and where we are with the hiring process at the moment. Okay, and you'll be...
Yeah, I don't anticipate any action after that.
No, I don't anticipate anything.
There's nothing left on the agenda to
Yeah,
discuss
that's
at this
right.
point,
Save
so.
that till last. I think we're pretty well done here today. We're going to do this and then get out of here.
Okay,
If you want to wait around, you're more than welcome to, but I don't anticipate anything coming up.
All right,
That's why
I'll-
that was